So Dylan Mulvaney put out this very cringe interview. I just like, listen, we all know Dylan's cringe. Okay, I'm not spilling any new tea here. Like, Dylan is cringe. I think Dylan's probably self-aware about being cringe. Um, my issue isn't really with Dylan being cringe, right? Like, I think that there is a particular hate boner that people, particularly people on the right, have for Dylan. And I don't hate Dylan, but the fact that Dylan, went to the White House to like promote children transitioning as someone who would never have to deal with those consequences because Dylan transitioned as an adult and in all likelihood can have children. Um, but it's advocating for taking that, human right away from children who may or may not feel trans, that's the bigger issue for me, right? And so, I saw conservatives a few days ago on Twitter. It was like this viral thread. It was just like people getting so mad about Dylan like doing a blender sponsorship, like literally like a kitchen blender. And I was like, you guys really weaken whatever valid arguments you have against Dylan's behavior by like spurking out about a blender, like a blender ad on Dylan's Instagram. It's like, stop. However, that's not to say that Dylan isn't doing a lot of cringe stuff. So Dylan did an interview with this publication called Them, which is sure to be just the name alone. It's like Them. Why is no one in DMs? Dylan Mulvaney discusses dating as a trans woman. The TikTok star said she is somebody who should not be single. That male entitlement, it's that male entitlement. Like, people who act like trans people are not like showing remnants of like their biological sexual socialization. It's like that entitlement to sex that a lot of trans women put out there. It's that entitlement to like a partner. It's like, that's such a male thing. So step one, Dylan, we're gonna give Dylan a masterclass on how to get a date. Because I generally want to help because I do feel like everyone deserves love. I'm not actually being sarcastic in any way. I feel like everyone deserves love, including Dylan. I think that Dylan is a demon, or as Alex Jones would say, a goblin demon for going to the White House and promoting children transitioning. I think that is demonic. But aside from that, that ugly, dark-sided soul within Dylan, Dylan's still a human, and I think everyone deserves love, and that might actually soften the demon energy within her. So I'm going to read a little bit of this. They don't call it second puberty for nothing. For those of us who transition as adults, not only do we go through the same psychological changes teenagers do, hormones can alter the way you experience emotions. And anyone who's been through the first year of transition can tell you those emotions often feel distinctly teenage in their intensity. I will agree with that. I went through that. Dylan Mulvaney is leaning into the concept of trans do-over as she searches for the person to have her first kiss with after coming out as a trans woman. The TikTok star, who uses she and they pronouns, first of all, I don't know if Dylan's attracted to men or women. If you're attracted to men, drop the they. Right? Because, like, as someone who has experience, obviously, with trans attracted men and someone who has been trans for almost a decade and has dated in all that time and had successful relationships in that time, ain't nobody who's attracted to trans women trying to kiss a they. So drop the they. That's step one. We're already giving solid advice here. So I just can't. Dylan says, I'm getting a little impatient because especially when you're feeling yourself and even looking at the Grammys picture, I'm like, that's somebody who should not be single. Mulvaney told the publication. But then you're like, wait, why is no one in the DMs? They added that they hope to find a relationship and that they feel as though they get a do-over as far as some of those negative experiences that I have had romantically. First of all, it's so cringe that like this publication goes back and forth between using she and they. Like, just because, I don't know, the pronoun stuff's stupid. But anyways, so we're going to do now a dating while being a trans woman 101 here. First of all, like I said, you drop the they. Because, as much as conservatives will say that, like, men who pursue trans women or date trans women or have sex with trans women are gay, for which it is a little fucking gay, they also still like female energy and woman-ish energy, right? It's like if they didn't, they would just date men. So they're gay, but they want to date trans women. So clearly there's something different about trans women than like a guy, right? So For me, I have a hard time imagining, and I'm not trying to be mean here, who would actually date Dylan based on the fact that Dylan is such a caricature. And when I say that, what I mean is Dylan is wholly performative, right? Dylan's entire existence seems to be a performance, seems to be very like, exaggerated emotions and it's like I feel like people that are like that in general have a hard time finding a date, but also when you're trans. This is what they don't tell you about being trans. And I can only speak from my experience, right? So I'm a trans woman who is lucky enough that like I pass within society, and so dating for me is gonna be different than like a Dylan Mulvaney. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to say Dylan, you don't pass, blah, 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 but it's like objectively, I don't think Dylan walks into a building without people knowing that Dylan is biologically male, right? It's like, I'm not trying to be mean. You put this question out there. Why is there no one in the DMs? I'm just trying to give explanation. So it's not to say that trans women that don't pass can't get dates, because I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret. The most busted, low effort trans women I know still are inundated with DMs from men, because at the very least, trans women are highly sexualized and objectified. This is just true. And so for Dylan to not be, I think the explanation here is, first of all, no one wants to date someone who every aspect of their life is on social media like that. Like Dylan puts every little iota of information about themselves on TikTok and turns it into content and is doing wacky stuff. And it's like, that's your gig and that's cute. But like, who wants to do that with you? That's going to take a very special person, right? Trans aside, even being on social media aside, because I'm on social media, but if you haven't noticed, I keep a lot private. And I've actually learned through the years to be more private about personal relationships because I want to protect those, right? Dylan, I could see Dylan getting a boyfriend and like day one of having a boyfriend. Like that's not what a lot of men want. Second of all, I swear to God, people are going to like perceive this as being mean. I'm actually not trying to be mean. This is a question that Dylan has presented. Why is no one in the DMs? Here's one of the explanations. Dylan gives off gay boy energy. Not trying to be mean. This is an issue with a lot of trans women. A lot of trans women can't let go of that like gay boy energy from their teenagehood or their early. So again, we can make all the jokes about how like trans attracted men are gay that we want. I personally think it's its own sexuality. I've never been with a guy who's been with guys. I've been with guys who've been with women and trans women. And to me, it's like, that's not the same as like a gay guy. I think it's its own sexuality. It's definitely on the Kinsey scale, right? Like it's not all the way straight. That's just not a thing. But what I know about the men who are attracted to trans women, I'm speaking from personal experience here, they still like a female energy. And when you're giving off a gay boy energy that Dylan does, and again, that's something that can be shaken off with years of, being in transition, and something a lot of them grow out of eventually. But it's like that, like performative, like gay, effeminate energy. That's not what trans attracted men are into. This is all assuming, by the way, that Dylan's into men, because I could just as easily see Dylan not being into men. If I'm honest, Dylan gives off into women energy, because that's what people don't like talking about. There's a big difference between trans women who are attracted to women and trans women who are attracted to men, right? People are going to be so mad about this. I don't care. People get mad at me about so much. Been here, been there, done that. 7 years in the game. I breathe and someone shits themselves. Like, okay. There is a big difference between trans women who are attracted to women and trans women who are attracted to men. When's the last time that you saw one of these insane stories about trans woman rapist and it was a trans woman who's attracted to men? Just putting it out there. You look at some of the very sexist stereotypes that Dylan has crafted the character of Dylan Mulvaney, for which Dylan is a character. those are like very like male minded stereotypes of women, right? For me, this is something that, Dylan has been trans for like a year. And so Dylan may very well grow out of a lot of this, but Dylan doesn't seem to let themselves just be, right? Like Dylan is like, it just seems like such a character. It's like, where's the real Dylan? And like the real Dylan is what someone would want to date, right? But like this like song and dance all the time. And I'm a bimbo. Not shit. It's like, I don't know. If you actually were a bimbo, I think you'd be more likely to get a date. But when you're someone who's trying to pretend to be a bimbo for clout, that's like different than being a bimbo. Does that make sense? There's like being a bimbo, and then there's like, I'm a bimbo and I'm just like being offensive to women. It's like, that's the difference. So I think to answer Dylan's question, why is no one in the DMs? It's again because you're a character. People like they don't even know what they're pursuing to date because who is the real Dylan? And that's the thing about like TikTok creators in general, by the way. I often hear all these people talking about the key to success on TikTok is being yourself. That's a lie. You think any ounce of Dylan's content is Dylan being themselves? Dylan's one of the most successful TikTok creators, and it's entirely an act. And I'm not saying an act in the sense of like Dylan's not really trans. I actually do think Dylan is trans, and I've said that from day one, right? Dylan has gotten like a trans surgery at this point. I don't know if Dylan's on hormones. I just don't think Dylan. People act like I'm so mean. When you put yourself out there like this, people speculate. I don't see Dylan being on hormones with Dylan's body composition that I see. Like the first year of hormones, I expanded. The first year of hormones, every trans woman I know expands. That like bony, like body thing that like a lot of us have before transition goes away. Like that's the quickest thing to go away. And Dylan seems to have that. And it's not being mean because I don't think that body type is unattractive. I'm just saying I don't know if Dylan's on hormones. But I do think Dylan is trans. So it's the act, it's the gay boy energy, it's all of that. And I think if Dylan grew out of that and learned to just be like a trans woman, it would be different. Because trans women that are actually trans women don't actually have problems getting dates. I know that's like, people don't like to admit that. Conservatives don't like to admit that. Liberals play the victim game and no one wants to date trans people because everyone hates them. And conservatives play the game, no one wants to date trans people because everyone thinks they're gross. Neither of those are actually true. So Dylan, if you're not experiencing love in the way that I do feel you deserve, oftentimes the problem is you, right? It's like if you're not getting results, it's you. It's not the world. But anyways, that's it on why no one's in the DMs for Dylan. Shout out to Dylan. Hope you find love. Stop advocating for kids transitioning. It's really demented, and you're gonna go to hell for that. Hey, if you guys enjoyed that short clip from the podcast, make sure you guys subscribe to this channel as well as my main channel and watch the full episode, which will be somewhere on the screen.